According to a new Morning Consult poll, 1 in 4 Democrats want to see Joe Biden replaced. And this is after they view his denial of the Tara Reade allegation. So before I show you the actual results, let me show you the video that the people polled were shown of Joe Biden denying the allegation.
Please, to our viewers, please excuse the graphic nature of this, but I want to make sure that there is no question as to what we're talking about. She says in 1993, Mr. Vice President, that you pinned her against the wall and reached under her clothing and penetrated her with your fingers. Would you please go on the record with the American people? Did you sexually assault Tara Reade?
No, it is not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened. And it didn't. It never happened.
So that was the video that they were shown. And here are the results. So, Morning Consult here writing, 1 in 4 Democrats say party should replace Biden. After viewing a video of Joe Biden's denial of Tara Reade's allegation, Democratic voters were asked whether the party should select a different nominee. So Democrats overall here, you see 14% say yes, definitely replace him. 12% say yes, probably. 13% don't know. 20% no, probably not. 41% no, definitely not. The division here among men and women. More women think that Joe Biden should be replaced. And this is where the real divide is. Democratic voters under 45 versus Democratic voters 45 and up. So Democratic voters under 45, 21% say yes, definitely replace him. 19% say yes, probably. 18% don't know. And 20% no, probably not. 22% no, definitely not. And compare that to Democratic voters over 45. 55% say no, definitely don't replace him. And only 8% say yes, definitely replace him. Now, also worth noting here is the overall view on Joe Biden's denial. So Morning Consult here writing, most Democrats find Biden's denial credible, but women and younger voters more skeptical. So again, voters were asked whether they found Joe Biden's denial of Tara Reade's allegation credible. So all voters here, 18% credible, very credible, 23% somewhat credible, 19% not credible at all, and 19% not all that credible. So real division here among all voters. But Democrats largely believe Joe Biden. Democratic men more than Democratic women. And of course, the divide again in terms of age. Voters under 45 believe it less than voters over 45. Now, I also got to share some information here because Joe Biden has a serious issue with lying, a history of lying again and again and again and again and again. And maybe this is possibly one of the better breakdowns of many of those lies. Still doesn't have all the lies in here. But let me read a piece of this. This is a current affairs piece by Nathan J. Robinson from early March. So let me just read a piece of this because this is, if you don't know how often Joe Biden has lied, you may feel differently about him than you will after reading this. So Nathan J. Robinson here writes, it's always worth remembering that Biden had to leave his first presidential race in disgrace because he was caught copying his speeches directly from a British Labour leader, including not only mimicking his gestures, but lifting references to the leader's wife and his coal mining background. Biden said he was the first in his family to go to college, which was true of the guy who wrote the speech, but not of Biden. The scandal was compounded by a lie that he had finished in the top half of his law school class when he had finished near the bottom, and as having plagiarized his academic work in law school. Lies like this may seem small in the age of the grand Trumpian lie, but they are real red flags about a person's character. If Biden can so easily say things about himself that aren't true, and do so convincingly and with that warm smile that makes you trust him, what else might not be true? And I'll get to that in a minute. But think about this. This was written in early March. The Tara Reade allegation, I believe, was out at this point, or if it hadn't been out yet, it was about to be. Actually, I'm not sure if it was. But it really wasn't publicized widely until recently. So if you know how often Biden has lied in the past, of course he's going to lie about this allegation. And based on all, look, I'm not going to go over all the evidence already because I've been through it in other videos, but there is a ton of corroborating evidence supporting Tara Reade's allegation. Joe Biden, meanwhile, doesn't have anything to go on. Now, more here. At various points over decades, Biden literally fabricated an entire fictitious career as a civil rights activist. He told audiences that he participated in sit-ins to desegregate movie theaters when he did no such thing. Recently, he told a black audience an extremely specific story about his involvement in the civil rights movement and his anti-segregation activism. It appears to be entirely made up. He did this over and over, as Sean King documented. Biden said that he was arrested in South Africa on his way to see Nelson Mandela, which also wasn't true. Lies like this are an insult to the people who actually did put their lives on the line during the civil rights and anti-apartheid struggles, which Biden could have participated in but chose not to. Pretending to have been a civil rights hero is like pretending to have been a decorated soldier. People are honored for this work, and fakers like Biden are trying to take that honor for themselves without having done the work. The South Africa lie was recent, meaning that Biden is still doing exactly the sort of thing that he was forced to drop out in 1988 over. It's not clear why this time. The press has decided to not care, but the underlying conclusion should be the same. This is a person who was not honest enough to be the Democratic nominee. Now, there's more. Like, a lot of those are career lies. There are even big personal lies that he has made. Biden has lied about matters large and small. He claimed without evidence that the other driver in the car crash that killed his wife and daughter had been drunk, leading the man's family to call on Biden to apologize for publicly smearing him. When confronted about his terrible record on abortion by the New York Times, I just gotta stop. He lied about how his wife and daughter were killed, claiming it was a drunk driver. It was not a drunk driver. Just like, why would you make this up? So, if you lie about something that is as obvious and as verifiable as a lie as that, you're going to lie about allegations. But more here. Let me just finish off this paragraph. When confronted about his terrible record on abortion by the New York Times, Biden's response was to lie about his well-documented record by saying he was on the opposite side of the one he was actually on. A Biden delegate defended his South Africa arrest lie by saying that, quote, "Everyone does this," but that is not the case. Only incredibly dishonest people do it. So I'm going to link to this article in the description box below the video. You can read through all of this. It's a great piece, long piece, but a great piece by Nathan J. Robinson, titled here, "Democrats, You Really Do Not Want to Nominate Joe Biden." And the lies are just a small part of it. But this goes to the results of these polls. Like, not enough people have the context here. You really can't tell. I mean, it's hard when it comes to polling like this because it would take, a half an hour to really detail Joe Biden's history and explain it to people and to really change these sorts of numbers. So, a 35-second video of him denying the allegation on MSNBC isn't really telling you the full story. So what these results show me is that people really don't know enough about Joe Biden, and they're going to continue learning more of these lies that he has told in the past during the rest of this campaign with Donald Trump pouring money into ads, highlighting those sorts of lies. Now, we get to the question about how do you actually replace Joe Biden? And I think that's the harder question to answer. I don't know. I have no idea how to replace Joe Biden. Clearly, the party insiders, the DNC, would have to be on board for doing that. The Biden campaign would somehow have to concede. So, again, it seems incredibly unlikely that he will be replaced. But based on a number of things, based on this allegation, based on his track record in terms of his voting record, based on his history of lying, based on his current positions, based on his mental state, there are so many things to attack Joe Biden with. And it's not even about the ammo that conservatives have in terms of attacking Joe Biden. It's also about the fact that Joe Biden is just not a good politician, not a good candidate, would not be a good representative of either the Democratic Party or the people. Now, he would be a good representative of the Democratic Party leadership in terms of the consultants, in terms of the corporations, in terms of the current leadership, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, but not in terms of the actual voter base. Voters deserve a party that actually fights for working people, and Joe Biden does not have that. Now, we get into other discussions about, people voting third party, people not voting at all. There are, I think, many legitimate arguments to not vote for Joe Biden, which is why the party has to do something about it. Otherwise, there is, I think, a good argument to make that if you're going to try and really send a message, now would be the time to do it. The Democratic Party cannot put up a worse candidate than Joe Biden. I mean, we thought Hillary Clinton was bad in 2016. Joe Biden's even worse. And if there is a message that should be sent to the Democratic Party, not that they'll actually learn anything, now would be the time to send that message. But this also goes back to the Democratic Party and the impact of sending a message and what it would do or wouldn't do. The reality is the Democratic Party is not going to just learn to change, because the party represents the current power that runs the party. So the big fight for them was Bernie Sanders. They wanted to ensure that they could actually contain or retain control of the party. So consultants, corporations, Democratic leadership, their big concern was Bernie Sanders, because if Bernie Sanders won the nomination, consultants, the current consultants, would be gone. Corporations, gone. Leadership, eventually gone. So now that Bernie Sanders is defeated, even if they lose to Trump, they'll be fine. The Democratic Party, the structure, the people that run the party will be fine, because they will retain power of the party. Even if they lose to Trump, Democratic Party consultants still have a job. Democratic donors still have people to give money to. Democratic leadership still have their positions. So this is why, if the idea to vote, if your idea in terms of voting third party is to send a message to Democrats, I think that's the wrong way to think about it. The real way to think about it would be to actually try and build something outside of the Democratic Party. Now, whether there are enough people that are, I don't know how to put it, connected or in tune enough to actually put together a real coalition in order to have an actual challenger come the general, is a big question. But that doesn't change the fact that Biden is a horrible candidate. And I totally understand people not wanting to vote for this guy. There are endless reasons not to vote for him. So the Democratic Party is, look, there may still be enough anti-Trump voters that are going to vote for Biden because they want to vote against Trump. Biden could still win. But ultimately, it is a huge risk when you are losing, especially a lot of younger voters who just do not want to see Joe Biden. But at the same time, you could argue, hey, there's enough here with 22% and 20% that's saying, no, definitely don't replace him. These are voters under 45. It's a big enough chunk where you can argue, well, he has half of the younger voters, so he may be fine. I don't know. I just know that Joe Biden is a terrible candidate.